If you write songs, I'm willing to bet you have ideas scattered everywhere. I bet you have a notebook full of half written songs, voice memos in your iPhone, lyrics in your notes app, and 20 different tabs open hunting for that perfect rhyme. And here's the frustrating part: some of those buried ideas are actually really good, but you forgot that they exist because they're lost amongst hundreds of others. I'm Luke Prov. I'm an independent artist and producer, and SongwritersdB hired me to check out their app, which is designed to help songwriters fix those exact problems. Their goal is to give you a place for everything: songs, voice memos, lyrics, different versions, collaborators, and even the business side like pitches and contracts. The idea is that everything is organized, backed up, and synced between your phone and your computer. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at the app, showing the features that stand out and talking through how they'd actually fit in a real songwriting workflow. And stick around to the end because we're going to look at some cool AI tools that are going to help with rhymes, different synonyms, not to replace the songwriter, but to help prompt you when you're stuck and you're looking for some inspiration. So let's get into it. So the first thing that stands out to me is that SongwritersdB is really focused on solving one of the biggest problems I think songwriters have, which is keeping track of everything. So SongwritersdB basically turns each song into its own project inside the app where you can keep adding lyrics, notes, recordings, versions, and details as the song develops. So for example, if you already have a folder of songs or demos, you can use the import songs button right here, and you can drag and drop your songs right into the app. So let's try this out. I'll select files and folders. I will go to these songs in progress and I will click open to all of them and I will click import songs. And now that they're imported, each song shows up as its own project, which makes it feel more like you're building a songwriting catalog instead of just storing random audio and lyric files all over the place. Where it goes a level deeper is when you can start adding details to each song. So over here inside the song details page, you can add things like genre, mood, tempo, rating, co-writers, completion status, is it recorded, is it registered with a PRO, etc., etc. And you can also keep the lyrics attached to the song so you can continuously update them, which I think is a big part of the value, because now the audio, the lyrics, the notes, and the song details are all connected in one place instead of being split across voice memos, notes apps, and random folders on your computer. To me, that's important because the more songs and ideas that you have, the harder it is to remember what everything is and where everything is. You might not remember the title of a song you started 6 months ago, but you might remember that it was an unfinished acoustic idea, or that it had a certain mood, or that there was a lyric or line that you wanted to come back to. That's where the advanced search feature becomes extremely handy. So the advanced search function is right here. So you can search by genre, tempo, mood, completion status, recording status, copyright status, anything you want here. So you can actually find the song later. So let's do indie folk. Let's do mid-tempo, energetic. Let's see what songs we have in here. So we have my song Miss Daisy and One Step at a Time. So this makes it really easy to remember a song by organizing everything in the app beforehand. So this first part really feels like the foundation of the app. Get your songs, ideas, and titles into one place, and then make them organized enough so that you can actually find them again later. Now, if you write songs, you know inspiration does not wait until you're sitting at your computer. Sometimes an idea hits when you're driving, walking around, about to fall asleep, lots of places outside the studio, which all end up in a random voice memo or buried somewhere in your notes app. So this is the part I want to check out next. Can SongwritersdB actually help capture those ideas on your phone and bring them back into your desktop where the rest of your songs live? So let's try it out with a quick audio idea first. All right, so I'm going to open up the mobile app here, record a quick idea, save it, and then sync it to see if it shows back up on the desktop app. So I'm just going to record a song that I'm working on. I'm just going to hit this record button. Take me to the forest, tell me all your stories, tell me about the night that never made it into morning. All right, so we're going to click finish recording here, and then we're going to name the song. I'll call it Take Me to the Forest. And I'm going to click update. And now I'm going to click sync all to see if it shows back up on the desktop app here. So now I just need to go to Cloud Drive and do a sync here. So I'll go back to songs, and there it is. So this is the part that really matters to me. The idea started on my phone, but after syncing it, it shows up on the desktop app where I can actually keep track of it and I can keep working on it. And the same idea applies to lyrics as well. So what we're going to do is we will add some lyrics here. Okay, so I got the lyrics added. I'm going to hit save changes here. I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to do a sync again. And now if we go back into the track here, we can see that the lyrics have been added. That's what I like about this feature. Your phone can still be the place where you quickly capture your ideas, but once you sync them, they get pulled back into the same organized system where you're managing the rest of your songs. There's also a couple practical features I wanted to look at next. The first one being able to share your songs and collaborate with other people, which I can see being really useful if you work with other songwriters, producers, bandmates, or send songs out for feedback. So let's try it out. So if I scroll down to one of these songs and hit the share button, it brings up the share window. From here, it gives me the option to add the recipient's name, their email address, my name, any notes, and choose whether I want to include the lyrics or not. So I'll send this to myself just to test it out and see what the recipient actually gets. Okay, so I got an email from SongwritersdB here, so I'm going to click here to listen to the song and review the details. Okay, so this is pretty cool. It looks like when somebody opens the shared song, they get this nice clean page with the song title, who it's from, the audio player to play the recorded version, some notes, revision notes, and the lyrics if you chose to include them. So that's pretty cool because that gives the person everything they need in one place instead of just sending them to a random audio file with no context. Another practical feature I want to show is backing up your files. If you're using SongwritersdB to organize a lot of important songwriting work, backup does become pretty important. So SongwritersdB has a backup and restore section where you can create a backup, check the backup status, and see your backup history. So that's this section over here. It's not the flashiest part of the app, but I do think it matters. If this becomes a place where your songs live, backup gives you some peace of mind that your work is actually protected if something goes wrong. Okay, so now let's get into some of the more fun, creative features. Up to this point, a lot of what I've looked at has been about organizing song ideas, syncing ideas, sharing them, and keeping them backed up. But SongwritersdB also has some tools for actually working on song ideas inside the app. One of those is the built-in beat player, which is kind of like a simple drum machine with preset beats you can use while recording demos. And I actually like that idea because sometimes when you're writing, you don't need a full production session or DAW open. You just need a quick groove to help you feel the timing and get the idea down. All right, so let's try out one of these beats with the song that we've been working on. So we'll go to the record/edit audio page, click on the beat player. Let's try a little rock beat. This is a slower tempo, so we'll record something. Take me to the forest and tell me all your stories and tell me about the night you never made it in the morning. I think this is a pretty cool feature as well. Obviously, it's not trying to replace a full production setup by any means, but it does give you a little bit of inspiration and some rhythm behind your recording. And once you got an idea recorded, the next thing that becomes very useful is being able to save different versions of it. So if we go back to the record/edit audio page, say I want to add a capo to this track, I'm going to grab my guitar, put a capo on it, and we'll record this again. Take me to the forest, tell me all your stories, tell me about the night you never made it in the morning. Okay, and we will stop that recording and we will click save as new version. And now if we go to versions, we can see that additional version where we added a capo, which is huge because now all of the versions are in one place grouped together. This is something I think songwriters will actually use because not every first take is the final idea. Sometimes the best version becomes after you experiment a little, and having those versions all grouped together rather than in 10 different voice notes makes it easier to compare ideas without losing the original. Next thing I want to talk about is the less glamorous side of songwriting, the stuff that happens around the song. Once you start taking songwriting very seriously, it's not just about writing lyrics and recording ideas anymore. You're likely going to be co-writing with people, sending your songs to publishers, submitting to contests, keeping track of split agreements, saving lyric versions, storing artwork, etc., etc., etc. So, along with the creative side, SongwritersDB also gives musicians a way to keep track of all the important things that happen around the song. So, starting out, there's a pitch section for keeping track of where you've sent songs and what happened with those pitches. So, in the song details section, you can click add pitch. And as soon as you click add pitch, it'll go over to this pitch sheet where you can track everything you've pitched. And in there, you can see everything such as responses, if there's follow up required, if it's a duo or a band, you can have some notes in there and you can actually keep track of everything. I like that idea because if you're pitching songs, it's really easy to lose track of what went where. You don't want to be stuck searching through emails trying to find out whether you already sent a certain song to a publisher, a contest, or some other opportunity. Along with the pitch sheet, there's the Documents tab. This is one of those features that might not seem exciting at first, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Once you start releasing music, there are actually a lot of files attached to it. You have lyric sheets, contracts, songwriter agreements, split agreements, artwork, etc., etc. As you can see here, I've added some artwork, some split agreements, and some lyrics to one of my songs that has already been released. I love this because everything connected to the song stays in one place. If you ever need to go back and find the agreement, the lyrics, the artwork, or different versions of the song, it's attached to the actual project instead of buried in a bunch of random folders on your computer. And lastly, there's the Sessions tab. If you co-write, this is where you can keep notes on the session of who is involved, their contact information, the date, and what you've worked on. So here's an example of a session that I've worked on. I've got some notes in here, some lyric ideas, some co-writer information. So everything from that session stays connected to the song instead of being scattered somewhere else. So this section is less about the creative spark and more about what happens when a song starts becoming a real project. And for musicians who are collaborating, pitching, releasing, or keeping track of ownership and paperwork, I think this side of the app is very helpful. All right, so now let's talk about the AI tools because I know this is probably the part some songwriters might be a little skeptical about. And honestly, I get it. A lot of songwriters don't want AI replacing human creativity or writing songs for them. And I feel the exact same way. But from what I'm seeing, the AI tools inside SongwritersDB are not built to replace the songwriter. They're more like support tools that can help with rhymes, word choices, ideas, feedback, and direction when you're stuck. So instead of having 20 different tabs open for rhymes, synonyms, phrases, and lyric ideas, those writing tools are built directly into the app. So let's try it out. All right, so here's the song we've been working on kind of throughout the video. So we'll keep it with this song and let's try some of these AI tools. So down here is the AI tools button. We have rhymes, synonyms, phrases, lyric coach, fragments, and next lines. So the first thing that I think would be really helpful is this rhymes section. So what we'll do is the next line has to rhyme with secrets. So I'll highlight secrets and we'll click on rhymes. And now you can see all the rhymes in the AI tools window. So I seen the word key in here and I think that can go well. So the word key is kind of sparking some inspiration. So I'm going to try and write the next line. All right, so I came up with the next line. I'll lock them in a crate and then I'll throw away the keys. I actually really love this line and it's pretty cool how one of the rhymes that were given to me by the AI tool inspired me to write it. So next up, let's see how I can use the synonyms tool. Now, I love the direction of this line, but I don't really love the word crate. So let's use the synonym tool and see if we can find some different synonyms for the word crate. So immediately I see box. I think the word box fits much better than crate, and it sings better as well. So I think I'll change the word to box here. So now the line becomes I'll lock them in a box and then I'll throw away the keys. Sounds much better. That's a good example of how I'd actually use this as a quick way to test different word choices. So the phrases tool looks interesting too, but I'd probably use this one more for inspiration. So let's highlight a phrase here. I'll highlight this very last phrase and see what it says. It looks like it gives me a bunch of other options of phrases that I can use if this phrase was not working, but I do like the way this is phrased, so I'm not going to use any of these here. But this is a helpful tool if you do want something phrased differently or just want a different way that you can say something. But as I said, I probably wouldn't use this as a replacement tool, but more as an inspiration tool, just to get your brain to start moving again. So next lines is probably one of the tools I'm actually most curious about here. Because the real problem when you're writing, sometimes you have a couple lines, but you don't know what you want to write next. So let's try it out. Let's take out the last line that I have here and let's see what it gives me. So, few cool options here. And I think that's where it becomes helpful, but I wouldn't want to overuse this one. I'm not looking at this as like, okay, AI, give me the next line. I'm looking at it more like inspiration. Maybe one word stands out, maybe one image sparks something, or maybe it just gives me a direction that I wouldn't have thought of right away. Now, the fragments and lyric coach tool are where I think the AI tools kind of get a little more interesting. So, starting with fragments, it's not just helping with one word or one line, it's looking at the overall idea and giving you some direction. So, I'll run these full lyrics through the fragment tool and let's see what it says. Okay, so what I like here is it's breaking down what's promising about the idea, what might be weak or unclear, and what kind of song it could become and how I could develop it further, which is kind of cool. Because when you're writing songs on your own, sometimes it's nice to get a second opinion on things. That's where I can see this being useful. It just gives you that other perspective. And next up is the lyric coach. So I think this is the most feedback focused tool on here. This is where I'd use it less for brainstorming and more for getting another perspective on the lyrics. When I run the lyrics through the lyric coach, it breaks things down like strengths, weaknesses, vague phrases, cliches, and just like fragments, this is very helpful for people who write alone and don't always get that second opinion on their songs. So overall, I think the AI tools make the most sense when you treat them as support. That's the right way to use AI in songwriting, not to replace your creativity, but to help you get unstuck and look at your lyrics from a different perspective. So that's my look at SongwritersdB. For me, the biggest thing that stands out is that this isn't just trying to be a lyric app, a voice memo app, or a place to store finished songs. It's trying to be more of a home base for the entire songwriting process, which I think could be very beneficial for all songwriters. Most songwriters have great ideas that get lost because they're buried somewhere with hundreds of other ideas. SongwritersDB's whole job is making sure that does not happen. Every idea has a home, and every idea is one search away. The AI tools, also interesting, but I'd look at them more like a creative assistant or a songwriting coach, not something that replaces the songwriter, but something that can help when you're stuck looking for a rhyme, developing a line, or wanting feedback on where a song can go next. So if your songwriting process is spread across notebooks, phone notes, voice memos, computer folders, and random documents, my final verdict is that SongwritersDB is definitely worth taking a look at. I'm Luke Prov, and thanks for watching.